Better than ever.
Oh, yeah. A year older. You're almost a year older.
Almost.
And, yeah, so you are listening to Average Rants here on KNMC
90.1
FM.
Yeah. We're better than ever.
Guess we got to start with, oh, man. So the most in-depth community calendar ever. Not much is going on.
There wasn't much. There was something really cool yesterday I saw. I hope everybody got to go out and see it. See the pet thing?
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
I like the Pause Adopt Your Soulmate adoption event.
Right?
Like when I first read that, I was like, is it like that time to dating thing? But you adopt
Speed dating.
Wouldn't that be great though with dogs? You just sit there, they sit in front of you, you're like, hey, how's it going? Is your name Rex? Oh, your name is Rex. And they're wagging their tail. But then if the dog hits the bell, you're like, oh.
Dog didn't like me.
Yeah.
Dog's like, bring on the next one.
Oh, what do we got? We got the Burger Feed fundraiser on Tuesday, September 7th from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Eagles. We've got Books and Babies at the Haverhill County Library. They do a lot of stuff at that library.
They do.
I don't know why, but it's always about books. What's that about?
Yeah. Right. Get over yourselves. Come on.
I think they need to find something else.
You guys ever heard of DVD?
Yeah. Oh, Mamma Mia's happening? Why did I know about this?
You're too busy playing golf.
It's true. So, Mamma Mia is happening on Friday, September 10th at 8 p.m. at the MSU Northern Little Theater.
Friday.
At Cowan Hall. Yeah, that's Friday.
Yep.
That'll be, the lounge opens at 7:30. Masks are not required, but are encouraged. And anyone with respiratory problems or who has been in contact with somebody who has recently been tested positive for COVID can get a ticket exchanged or refunded. That's pretty good. That way you don't feel like you
Missed
lost
out.
money.
Yeah, lost money.
Chinook Farmer and Flea. Okay, I guess it's actually an area code. 59523. That's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Blaine County Fairgrounds with food and product vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's silent.
Well, you made it sound like you had something to say. You're like, so, and then you just stared at me.
I got nothing to say.
You got nothing.
No,
to say.
we absolutely have something. We've always got something to say, right? Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
We rant and we talk.
Well, the whole point of us doing this is nobody can tell us no.
Yeah, because if we do it here, wives can't tell us to shut up. Even though they tell us
send
to it all the
text.
time. They
Yep.
send us messages. You
They'll
don't
send
shut
us
up.
messages and say,
But
you
I
guys
could
are talking about
just be like, you don't have to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But they do.
We'd lose our only viewer.
Right? But they do watch. So that means we got to be talking about something.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today? Ooh, we got we watched. I don't know how we missed this. We've been doing this forever about weird conspiracies. We missed the Bermuda Triangle, man.
Yeah, we did.
What's wrong with us?
There's just so much, and that is such a common one.
Right.
It feels like it's not a conspiracy to me anymore.
No. Well, then the Bermuda Triangle is a legit thing. Like it's there, and
there are weird anomalies that happen in it, and they're like the storm stuff that they were talking about. Like they do just out of nowhere.
But that's a teaser, right? We're not gonna start with that right now, are we?
No.
What do we start with? Oh, can you do anything like the human body's an amazing thing, right? We're so used to being people where we forget how awesome our bodies really are and things they can do. Can you do anything really cool?
I can flip my tongue over.
Really? Some people can't do that, right?
Yeah.
Like I can roll my tongue and all that crap, and people can wiggle their ears and
do
their
this
nostrils.
thing
Yeah.
with my fingers.
Oh, dude, I have a best friend, dude. When he bends his thumb over, it doesn't point up; it points backwards. Like yes, only his is far more extreme.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's called the hitchhiker's thumb.
And I was like, man, you always kick my butt in video games, and why is that? And he's like, I watch him, and his thumb is the wrong way. I'm like, that's not fair.
Yeah, that's right. We can click the buttons better.
Right? But this guy's got everybody beat, man. Let me get the story up here. And scientists for years and years and years, and most of them probably still say this, this guy can change his pupil size on command.
Could you, like, the things you could do, like a cop comes up to you, he's like, "Are you feeling okay?" And you'd be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa,"
right? And for years and years and years, and people thought this was scientists even like that. You cannot. It's an involuntary movement, right? It controls the amount of light that goes in and out of your eye.
Yeah.
To be able to do that on your own, man, just to dilate your pupils all the time, just so you look like you're way out of it.
Are you feeling okay? What?
Sir, how much have you had to smoke today? What?
I just came from the
And then you're just like, look at my eyes. You're like, whoop, whoop. Or you're like, oh, weird.
Do you have a concussion?
Right. Yeah, like how could you test that dude? Because like you do that, right, to test their and when somebody takes a head wound. But this 23-year-old student in Germany can shrink and enlarge his pupils on demand. That's insane.
That's one of those talents that, it's like, so like I can shake my eyes, like vibrate them,
right?
And it's a useless talent.
Well, you could use the pupil dilation.
Yeah, I mean,
thing.
he could dilate them huge in dark rooms and possibly see better.
Well, your pupils will do that anyway.
Yeah, but he might go further.
Well, but I mean, like, when you go from a light room and do an absolute dark room, you're like, oh my god, it takes like 2 or 3 minutes for your eyes to adjust. He can just do it beforehand and just walk in there.
Preempt it. He's like, oh man, lights are about to come on.
or the other way, right?
Yeah. That'd be kind of fun.
But you could also blind the crap out of him if you do that without telling him, and his eyes are all dilated like that, and you hit him with a big bright light. You got a bunch of gremlins running around.
Can you make them really big? Really big? Bam!
You're blind. Yeah. No, my eyes are weird. Like I have an odd color. I have hazel, so my eyes appear different color.
Okay, you have an odd color. I have hazel.
Well, it's not a real common color, but they go from a green to a brown depending on how dilated they are.
Oh, Sammy says that my eyes change color depending on the shirt I wear.
They could, or just could change the way they look.
I call it chameleon eyes.
Yeah. So, yeah, if my pupils dilate, my eyes turn more brown, which usually comes when you get mad or upset. Your pupils will start to dilate.
So you're like a mood ring.
Yeah. My wife's like, oh crap. He's in a bad mood. She used to do that when we first started dating, and she noticed it. She's like, let me look at your eyes, and they'd be really dilated. She's like, oh, yeah, he's not in a happy mood at the moment. Wait for those pupils to ring down a bit. And that's completely involuntary. I can't do that on my purpose. And I don't think it's that my eyes actually change color. I think it's just the amount of color that they have when they dilate and close. So that's kind of neat, man.
This is a useless talent that is cool, pretty cool.
Like I can wiggle my ears and wiggle my nostrils, but that's useless talents.
Can't do the ears. I can flare the nostril.
Yeah, but it's stupid because when Little Rascals, the movie came out when I was younger, and you could see that kid wiggle his ears. I'm like, I wonder how he does that. And I can't wiggle my earlobes, but I can actually move my bigger part of my ears, but I can't wiggle my earlobes.
So you can move that flap.
Yeah. Have you seen that Instagram video where they take the Q-tip along the kid's face and all of a sudden it starts to get close and their ear flops over?
No.
It's weird. I don't know if it's like legit or what, but I seen it on Instagram and I'm like, that's weird. Like, does it actually do that?
I mean, you've been sending me a lot of Instagram videos.
I've been really lonely.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just hanging out.
Me too.
I thought it was funny today. I was like, geez, 2 of them already? Well, he wants to come over and clean my house.
That was only 1, wasn't it?
No, it's 2. You sent me the basketball one.
That was last night, wasn't it? Or was that this morning? Oh.
And then was the why my boyfriend only smiles when he's playing hockey.
Which is probably true.
Well, the difference is I'm gonna give the girls this tip. The pictures that are taken when I'm playing hockey is I'm already smiling and enjoying myself. The pictures I hate it when people are like, "Hey, smile."
But I don't want to.
Yeah, I was like, but I was smiling, and now you're forcing me to. There's a difference. So like, you can't tell me that you haven't like been hanging out with a man and you guys have been laughing, joking, having a good time, and then she's like, "Let me take a picture of this moment," and you're just like,
you try and smile like you were before, and you just look like a snarf, like
yeah. So like, that's why I thought that was funny, because I was like, it makes it look like the guy's like, "I am not happy with this," but it's because I don't think any guy's like hey, I need a picture to commemorate this. I was like, why didn't you just take a picture while we were laughing?
Well, a lot of those look like they're photos like professionally done too.
Yeah.
Like smile. Like a forced smile is really hard, but the natural ones, when you like our wedding photographer was really good. She tried to take the more
like when you guys were just joking before
the
photo.
and that's when she was doing the photos. And so you get realism behind those smiles. You're not getting the say cheese, you know.
Yeah.
I don't like cheese. Oh, I never mind. I love cheese, but I like cheese. So yeah. So if anyone else out there can dilate their pupils, seriously.
Yeah, if there is anyone that can do that, please let us know if it makes so.
And take a video. I want to see it. Like, there's no video.
I want to know if there is any benefits from it. Right. If so, I need to start practicing.
Yeah, because there is no video on it. So,
well, do you think at like some point though, like let's say that you're practicing trying to dilate and like make them go smaller and stuff, that you went, ow, oh, I did it too far, or
well, have you seen the people who can pop their eyes out their sockets?
Yes, that's disgusting.
Now that's a talent. Like if you get pulled over.
Only way that I think it's a talent is if you can pop it out and look around a corner.
Well, actually, that is a danger of doing that. Like doctors will actually recommend that they don't do it because if you push too far, your eye will come out. Right.
But then you could just put it back in after looking around the corner.
I wouldn't. Like the external bacteria stuff that gets on it, dangling on your face.
Come on, how great would that be though? We're like sitting there and you're like, oh man, we're like paintballing. And they're like, Barry, where are they at? And you just look up over your shoulder.
You're going to take your mask off to do that?
Yeah.
Or because you got glasses too.
Yeah. And be fine. Maybe I have
No, you get your buddy who's standing right in front of you. Look up. And you just look through his mask and you can see the reflection. And when he gets shot in the face, they're that way. What was that? Sacrificial lamb, buddy.
Yeah.
You saved the platoon. You're good.
Well, you can't bring... Well, you did like the weird paintballing high-end stuff, didn't you?
Yep.
Can you bring mirrors?
No.
Why not? Just use a little mirror.
You're too busy being shot at for one.
Oh man, you guys are just...
The average speedball game lasts about 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes long.
Oh, that's because you're playing speedball. You guys need like a 10-acre
You're talking like rec ball, yeah. Which I did do, but the high-end speedball matches last about 2.5 to 3 minutes. But you're like guys will go out with 1,000 rounds of paint on them and they'll come back with nothing. Like that's how much paint they're throwing in 3 minutes.
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yes, but when you play on the professional level, like we find out with Ryan, who we played golf with yesterday, you're like, here's a couple sleeves of golf balls, go practice.
Oh yeah.
When you have sponsors, you get free.
I need a resin sponsor, I think.
Well, you need to get better at making minis.
Well, I'm making them.
Well, and actually, you don't even
come on. They look pretty good.
Yeah, but that's not you. That's the machine.
I had to do the settings. I had to find the right thing.
No, you told me the only setting you had to do was you had to level the board.
I leveled it, and I had to set the cure time. I should show you the first angel that I made.
She didn't look like an angel.
It looked like so the original angel that you saw looks pretty good. The first one I printed looked like that angel had eaten way too many cupcakes.
She kind of shrunk a bit and kind of blew up.
She was the same height and everything, but all of the wings, her face, her clothing, and everything poofed out way more. So it was because it was such a long exposure time that I needed to shorten it. I got it.
You got it.
I painted. I think I got 13 minis now.
Nice. So yeah. Pupils dilating.
Pupils dilating.
No, I'm just like, how did he figure out he could do it?
I don't know. I know, like when it came to me shaking my eyes, it was we traveled a lot, and no, not like that.
And I can't do it.
I might be too far away.
Yeah, and it's too fast. I can't see it. But
I used to watch the poles going by, and then eventually you get to those the little stumps that have the wire on, so you don't go off the road.
Mhm.
And I tried to see them all. And then one time I was preempting, and my eyes shook, and I was like, "Whoa!" And it freaked me out. But then I was like, and then I started being able to mimic the feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he just did a lot of LSD, and was like, "I know the feeling now.
I can taste it with my eyes."
Look with me and taste."
They were schnozberries. Taste like schnozberries.
Oh,
Yeah.
Super Troopers! I love that movie.
Yeah. So,
I ate the whole bag. You ate the whole bag,
dude, I'm gonna need that $42,
Yeah.
man. It was like $142.
Yeah.
You ate $100 worth of weed and like $40 worth of
I
fruits.
just need that whenever
Whatever
you
is
get a
convenient.
chance.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they were just about to throw it.
Trivia question: where were they headed?
They're heading to Canada
There. What for?
for poutine and
French
meatballs.
fries and gravy. That's what they said they were going to do anyway.
That's where they were going. So you remember in the second one?
I didn't watch the second.
Oh, the second one they get pulled over again, but they're in Canada.
But I couldn't bring myself, because to me sequels from movies like that just never measure up, right?
The problem with the second one is it was the first one. As an American, you get a chuckle out of it. The second one is 100%. You need to understand Canada because it's in Canada,
Well, yeah.
and it's not only that; it's in a French Canadian town.
Oh man.
So like they randomly have the French accent. They are like full on like, "Hey, yeah, what you about there, eh?"
So speaking of Canada, this morning I cooked breakfast. I made my kids some pancakes and stuff. And my wife had recently bought some pure Canadian maple syrup, right?
So like the thin stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I poured it on my pancakes and I'm like, where'd it go?
It just disappears.
Right. It's super runny and
Mhm.
thin. But I'd grown up on regular American syrup. So, like Buttersworth and all that stuff. So
like the artificially made.
whatever, it's syrup. It's sugar.
It's literally just sugar.
But either way you go, it's just pure sugar. So, and the taste wasn't bad. It's just different. And I'm like, it's something. So I can see where you grow up in Canada, and you guys are like, what's Buttersworth? Like, that's horrible.
Well, I've had both, and I mean, it depends. So, like, if I'm having a pancake,
I was eating. I was like, is this what maple trees taste like? I'm gonna start licking maple trees.
yeah, if you cut off the bark, lick the maple tree.
It tastes like bark.
It's exactly. Well, you gotta know you cut the bark off so that you get to the maple syrup underneath the bark, and then you lick that.
Well, don't you have to tap them?
Yeah, you actually do have to tap them, and so my grandpa used to do it. He took. You guys probably had them down here, like back in the day when you had the.
We do make maple syrup in the States.
Yeah.
Michigan's one of the bigger ones that do it.
I don't know if you know the process.
Or Maine. Michigan and Maine.
Because like those oil drums that used to be attached to the side of your house because you actually had to get the oil delivered.
Yeah.
He had one of those. And he cut it in half, and of course all cleaned out.
I would hope. Really? I mean, can you ever get the oil out of a porous drum? Maybe that's why your syrup tastes a little bit. Whoa.
But so he would do that, and he had about 80 maple trees, and he'd tap them, and they'd get about a half a bucket full, probably in a month. And then he would dump them all in there. And then he would pour in like a bag of sugar and then boil it all down. And then we would have one jar.
Yeah,
maple syrup.
is it like you need like 10 or 15 gallons just to make a small bottle?
Yeah, you need a lot.
Just because you got to cook it all way down.
He told me that it took him about a year of tapping the trees to make enough for the family to have them. And that's just our family. He couldn't sell any here.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do that anymore, and I am the only person that still has some of his maple syrup.
Well, it's never going to go bad.
It solidifies.
Well, like honey, but you can fix this.
Boil.
You heat it up a bit, and it'll be fine. So, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Well, I figured I'd let you know I tried some pure Canadian maple syrup. I don't know if it's Canadian, but it had a maple leaf on it.
So is really cool, and so you can't do it with. Well, you can do it with regular maple syrup, but it's not as fun because it's so runny. If it's really cold out, go get some snow, find some clean.
You can do it with molasses too.
Well, level it out, and then just pour strips, and then take a
We did that in
straw or something.
school. I was in grade school. But we did it with molasses because we watched Little House on the Prairie or something like that. I never liked the show ever. So, but that's what they're like. This is what they made for candy. And when you grow up nowadays, like post 1900, candy's good. Molasses is gross. But I can see when you grow up before the processed sugar and all that stuff, and all you had was the natural sugars, like your molasses, honey, syrups. It's like that maple syrup I had this morning isn't nearly as sweet.
No.
As
But it's better for you too.
True. But yeah, they're like, we poured it in the snow and I took like one lick and went, that's disgusting.
Yeah, there it goes. They can go back on the ground.
Yeah, I'll put molasses where it belongs in my barbecue sauce with a bunch of sugar, brown sugar, ketchup. Yeah, I'm not giving away recipes. So
Yeah, we'll give away recipes without a fee. So I had something weird happen.
Uh-oh.
So my kids started school.
Well, yeah.
And we're Canadian. And you're probably gonna laugh, but it bothered me, and it shouldn't have, but it did. I was sitting there doing some of my schoolwork on the computer, and behind me, all I hear is, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States." I turned around, I said, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "We were learning this at school today, Daddy." I was like, "Oh no."
I didn't know that they still did it.
Yeah. She's in kindergarten, and she recited, I think, the whole thing.
Do you know the whole thing?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
It's like 10 lines.
Some kind of random thing that happens after that. But so I asked her, and I said, "Well, are you American?" And she's like, "No, I'm Canadian, but I know what they say."
She's both.
Technically, yeah.
So.
But it was just weird. Like, it was one of those things where, because I'm very patriotic to Canada, and I have no problem with the
You're going to have to learn the pledge. You know this, right?
No, as permanent residents, we don't need to. As citizens, I do.
Right. Are you going to go for citizenship?
I will never do citizenship.
You're just going to go for residence.
Yeah. There's no need for me to get citizenship. The only thing it gives me is I could do federal jobs, and I don't
want to work for a federal government either.
Right. So, and plus, I don't like the idea of, last time I looked into it, I'd have to denounce my Canadian citizenship.
You do.
And there ain't no way I'm giving up my health care. Right? Like, it's weird. In Canada, they have a law that if you're out of the country for so long, you lose your benefits. So, like, I've technically lost them. But as a Canadian, I still have a right to life. So if I just come back, they have to treat me even if I'm no longer covered.
Loophole.
Yep.
There you go. So something happened yesterday that hasn't happened in 100 years.
Oh, what'd you and Amanda do?
You're such. The biggest upset of the first full college football Saturday took place yesterday, and it involves Montana. The University of Montana football team, an FBS team.
What's an FBS team?
Like your divisions in college. FBS is a mid-tier team. But they beat one of the top teams in the country, number 20 Washington, in a 13-7 win. It's the first time in 100 years that an FCS. Okay, I got it backwards here. It's only the second FCS win. So the Grizzlies are in the FCS win over an FBS opponent in FCS history. So that's crazy.
So does that mean anything?
Right now, it kind of screws up Washington's ability to move up in the polls.
Okay. Well, because do they usually play those divisions to get their wins or something?
So what happens usually in the first game of the year? Big teams like your big FCS teams will pick on a little team.
Oh, to get their
feet going, right? you can ask Michigan about this. I'm sorry for any Michigan fans out there who tried to pick on Appalachian State 3 years in a row and got spanked 3 years in a row. Hasn't happened in a while, but it was so funny when it did. But Washington picked Montana this year. And Montana is a pretty good team. You know, they're usually top 3 or 4 in their conference every year.
Well, you don't want it to be a horrible team, but you want it to be one you can beat, right?
Right. It's like your homecoming. You remember homecoming? You always pick that one team you knew you were going to slaughter, unless you were that team.
We don't have homecomings in Canada.
Oh, really?
Really?
Wow.
I think they're weird.
Like, well, here they're huge here.
Oh, I know.
Right? Like when we would always pick like the worst teams ever.
Okay.
Right? And you would just smoke them 56-10, and they only got 10 because of the fourth quarter. You're like, are there any freshmen that haven't played yet? You throw them in there. So, but that's kind of neat that for the first time in over 100. See, and here's the good thing though. Like Montana could just lay an egg the rest of the year, and all they have to do is, well, we beat number 20 Washington.
Yeah.
Like
we won this year.
We win a title, man. They're a top 20 team in the country, and we got it.
Well, it might make it so that people look at Montana a little bit more.
Montana's actually produced some good football players, some pros. So, very popular one from recently. I went to high school. Well, he was behind me. He went to high school with my wife, Mark Mariani. Went to Montana. He walked on as a tennis scholarship. He walked on. Ended up getting drafted in the NFL.
I was thinking about joining the football team here. I mean, I can't make them any worse. Right?
Right. But would you make them better?
I was a good kicker.
You all need a kicker. I can kick.
Well, I mean, I'm not. If I was, 28 or something, then yeah, I could probably be.
You would. Yeah, kickers don't have to do it. We just kick the ball.
Yeah.
2 laps. I'm gonna go kick.
Yeah, but I would be the guy that they'd be like, oh, he could randomly do something
So,
else.
Not so much in college, but in the pros, there's one guy who only does one job: the long snapper. Each team has a long snapper.
Well, the guy that can hut the ball really far.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's his only job.
I could probably do that.
He's not the ordinary center. So some teams he can do it, but for the most part, they have a designated long snapper, and that's all they do. That's better than being the third string quarterback.
I always thought the best job would be to be the third goalie on an NHL team.
E-bug. Because you're getting paid,
Yep.
but there's still a chance you can play. But you get cool gear,
Mm-hmm.
just in case you have to play.
Right? Could you imagine, though, where it's just like...
Unless you're playing Toronto.
Would you leave my team alone?
I can't. They lost with Zamboni driver.
Yeah, their Zamboni driver. That's how good...
Their own Zamboni driver.
But that just showed you that he was so competitive, he knew that he needed to give it his all.
No. You can't tell me. Say you lived in Toronto,
Mhm.
and you were their E-bug, right? Carolina comes in that night, and for some reason, their second goalie who got hurt, who shouldn't have got hurt, what he was, you can watch the video replay and go, the net is way over, what? I'm a goalie, and I'm trying to figure out, I've come out before, but that dude was almost to the blue line. What are you doing, right?
Mhm.
Got rolled. Because once the goalie leaves his crease, right, he's fair game.
To a point, you still can't purposely hit him, but you don't have to...
As long as you're playing the puck.
Mhm.
And for some reason, the goalie thought he could outskate a forward. He couldn't, and paid the price for it. So the E-bug goes in. You can't tell me if you were the E-bug that night and you had to go in for Carolina, you wouldn't be stoked. Because you get to play in a pro.
Well, yeah, but I'd also give it my all. I would...
And then I'm saying, you would give it your all, and you're like, oh, can I stop Austin Matthews? Nope, but I'm going to try. Right? Actually, no, the E-bug did. Actually, he allowed the first 3 goals, didn't he?
No, he didn't have 1 goal scored. So what happened was Toronto was, I think, winning the game.
They were up 4.
But they only got 5 shots on him, and he saved all 5.
Yeah.
Because Carolina stepped up their game because they knew.
And that is something that I witnessed firsthand. When you put in when you know you got, I don't want to say inferior, but it's kind of the thing is, you know, you got a less than stellar player in there, you can see the rest of the team, you know what, we're going to pick up the slack a little bit.
Well, it's that mindset where you're like, you know, you don't, well, even so, like it's a theory. And as like a coach myself, I've used it.
Right.
Where the team's not doing well, switch the goalie, even though that's not the problem.
Right.
Because as soon as that happens,
well,
they all go.
We've all seen those games where hockey teams or even football teams where a team goes on a run and gets like 50 points or 3 goals in a row. And you're like, it's my defense. But I can't change my defensemen. My defensemen are who they are. I don't have any more.
Yeah.
Pull the goalie. Well, you do that for 2 reasons. Your goalie's probably like getting a little hot. Like, you guys got to help me out here. And you got to do it first moral. Or is, you know, if you're get into a goalie's head, that's it, right? So that's one thing. And that's my personal experience. Like, once you live in the first 4 or 5 goals, you're like, you don't even want to play anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Ask Patrick Waugh. He went and won Stanley Cups because that happened to him. Thank you, Montreal. What is with Montreal and goalies?
I don't know, but Carey Price seems to like to stay there for some reason.
Oh, man, he could have played anywhere he wanted.
But he had surgery.
You guys took Thornton. Old man Thornton.
Yeah. He was a mistake. I didn't mind it at the start, but then I saw him skating, and I was like, "Oh, he's lost."
He's skating like a 45-year-old goal, like a 45-year-old forward.
Yeah.
So
I skate faster than he does.
Well, that's kind of interesting. Like, even you pointed out the other day, you can't skate as fast as you can, but you don't need to.
But I can still.
You can still skate fast.
I can still
Yeah,
have.
both of us.
So the difference for me is I just don't have that. I don't have that long endurance.
Right.
So I have short bursts of it.
But you know, positioning is everything.
Oh man, hockey. That's what I love about the sport. So like in football, positioning is everything, but everybody has like a position, and you have that job. That's your only job. Where the thing I liked about hockey is, to me, out of all the sports that I've played, it was one of the only ones where you're every position.
Well, that's the hardest thing we have to deal with, right? When we're teaching someone new the game, they're like, "Well, what position?" I'm like, "You play all of them except for goalie." And even then, sometimes you might have to.
I've played goalie. How many times have you been out of the net and have to stand?
No, what I'm like if your goalie's way out of position, you're like, oh, I got to take like Goon where he puts his face in front of the. Don't ever do that.
Unless you got a mask on.
But right, your guy moves and that spot's open, so you're like, well, there's 2 guys in that spot. One should move. Well, you're right. You can't do that in most other sports.
Yeah.
You can do it in football. You can do it pre-snap. So, like, if the line shifts.
But it's kind of like that. It's usually like a play or something, right?
So everybody has to shift to compensate for it, and your guy might change at that point. But
like, what the heck would they do if, like, I'm just thinking.
We need to create football where it doesn't stop and it changes on the fly.
Well, I was trying to think, like, can you imagine a football lineup, and they're lined up to go, but then you all of a sudden have guys coming into the line, and a guy comes out of the line, and another guy goes to the quarterback, and then because that's
But there's a rule, and that used to take place because they would do that to mess with people. But there is a rule that if your offense changes out players, you have to allow the defense to do it too.
Yeah, see, that's dumb.
Right.
That's just like saying, oh well, you know what? Let's give everybody a good, fair chance to stop a play.
Right.
And let's just make it take longer. Football is, how long is football if there was no, like if it was continuous time?
60 minutes.
I tried watching the Super Bowl, and that was like 5-6 hours.
You can't watch this because the Super Bowl's got like a ridiculously stupidly long, unwatchable halftime show. And I say it's unwatchable because it usually plays a lot of garbage music I don't like.
Well, how long is a game when you sit and watch it, like the college ones?
College game? 3 hours.
Right? It's still longer than a hockey game.
That depends, unless you watch the Tampa Bay overtime game from 2 years ago that went 7 overtime.
But that's still like entertainment.
I started listening to that game at noon and it got over at 8 o'clock. I was like, jeez. Oh, wow. But yeah, 100 years. It's nice to see a small school. And I'm going to rant here. You don't know much about football. or college football, but I know a lot of people listening on the radio do. I hate, and I'm going to say that I hate the college football system for picking playoff teams. So 5 years ago, 6 years ago, before they came out with a 4-team playoff, they had what was called the BCS Championship, where a group of guys who knew everything about football would go in and vote to see who the best 2 teams were in the college, and they would play for the football championship. Okay? I hated this. Then they're like, well, we've got a system that does it mathematically, and these are the 2 technically, by the numbers, the best 2 teams. There's a saying in football that says on any given Sunday, anybody can win. And that's the same in any sport, right? Mm-hmm. On any given day, any team can win, even the inferior team. Well, then they're like, well, people don't like that. Oh, and the biggest thing that really threw this for me is like 20 years ago when they first came up with the BCS things. They're like, well, the way we do this now, no teams will ever tie. The first 2 years it was put into effect, 2 teams tied. So it was like, well, your system is already redundant on itself. It already said, you said it wasn't going to, there were bingo ties, and now there's 2 years in a row, there's 2 teams that tie. So, yeah. What they need to do, in my honest opinion, is they take a winner from each conference. And you make there are 8 conferences, an 8-team playoff bracket. But people are like, you lose your bowl games. No, you won't. These are still bowl games. I don't know if you know what bowls are, but bowls are like...
A bowl is what? Cereal?
Exactly. But these are fancy games that they use to really... They're basically modern
I've heard of it, because like the thing that always confused me, I was like, why is there so many?
There are like 50 bowls, right?
Because I was like, how do they feel special when they're so...
Like you'll turn on like the Bengay...
Bengay bowl.
The Bengay bowl.
The cereal bowl.
But they pan out from the field and there's like 7 people in the stands. And they're playing it in Jamaica, which would be cool. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind. But
I played one in Jamaica.
Right? The kids like it, but I'm like, but you got the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and all these big bowls. You can still do the bowl games, the big bowls, as playoffs. Because the reason I want to say that because there's any given day, your number 1 team could get knocked out. And we said this yesterday because we were watching a college game because we stopped in our 18 holes of golf yesterday, which was a lot of fun. I was watching the college game on TV when you come up and you're like, oh, is this like football or something? And yeah, this is Alabama. God, I hope Alabama loses because they don't lose.
Did they lose that game?
No, they didn't lose that game. They won 42-0 or 42-10.
Oh yeah, because I said I bet you it's the coaching then.
It is the coaching. They have one of the best coaches
that's just. No, that's like.
But they have the recruiting as well, so they can go out and get the best players.
Yeah, but I mean, coaching is way more important than I think some people.
I've always said it this way that you can take a 500 team and make them 4 wins better just with coaching, right? Mm. Four wins above 500.
Well, and I mean, the other thing too is I mean, I know people don't. There's people that just think, oh, a coach is a coach, but I've had coaches that I didn't enjoy, and I didn't play well for them.
Right.
And if there was a coach that, like, honestly would come in,
you don't even have to like the coach. You have to respect the coach, and he knows what he knows doing.
Like, I loved hearing when I was coaching that, I had some stuff happen, and at the end of the game, the kids were like, "Just so you know, we wanted to play good for you." And I was like, that means everything. Because that's what you want to hear, is that the kids wanted to try harder because they wanted to do better for you.
Right. So, like, the coach for Alabama has been the same coach, Nick Saban. He's been their coach, I don't know exactly how long, but like 10, 15 years. And they play for the championship most of the time. Right? So, I mean, that just speaks volumes. Like, and I can't imagine how many New England Patriot fans we have out there because of their coach. Since 2000, they have won their division 17 times.
I think they need better people in the division.
They've won, and since he's been there, he's won 6 championships with them. Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, he seems to know what he's doing.
The NFL is probably one of the hardest sports to repeat in championship-wise because there's the one and done. The better team doesn't always win.
Well, that, and I mean, you have to keep making plays, right? Because otherwise people are going to
Well,
start learning what you do.
Right, and this is just my personal view of the Patriots coach, is he doesn't take players and look at him and go, that's a round player, but I want to put him in a square peg. I think he can do it. He doesn't do this. He takes those round pegs and puts them in round holes. He's like, I don't draft a player basically because he's super talented at this position, but I need to fill this position. A lot of teams do this. They're like, well, he's so good and talented and athletic. I think I can change it. He's 20 years old, 22 years old. I'm not saying it's impossible.
Well, let me ask you, you've got a 2-year-old? Is that what King says?
Yeah.
Do you think you can change him right now?
No.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, when you're 20, you still can't change that.
Right?
Kid.
But there are people who are athletic enough who can pick up those abilities. But for the most part, you're going to take a guy, so let's say coming out of college, he led his team in tackles because he was an inside linebacker and he just knew how to play that position super well. Well, he's big enough and fast enough, we're going to put him right up on the line. And he just gets steamrolled because he's not used to playing that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying it's impossible for players to change or adapt, because you've seen this in hockey where you're like, and you yourself used to be a forward, but you play, why'd you switch to defense? You need a defense?
Well, so there's a little story with that.
Ooh.
So,
But you only played forward up until...
I played forward all through my, what I would call my professional career.
Right.
And
then you switched to a defenseman.
And I was damn good at right wing.
Right.
I switched to defense because I joined a team that needed a defenseman.
Right.
And I said, I could probably do that.
But in your honest opinion, and we see this a lot, especially in hockey, what's the one position people think they can play because they're not very good skaters?
Defense.
Which is wrong, because you have to be the best skaters on the ice
you gotta
to be a defenseman, because you got to be able to change directions on a dime, just gone.
Yeah, for me, I would say, for the positions, if people just wanted descriptions of what you need for each position, defensemen would have to be good positional players and be able to get back. So you got to.
You got to move.
You got to be. You don't have to be extremely fast, but you got to be good on your going from forward to backward. Wingers needed to be good, strong skaters that are able to hold the puck in along the boards.
Right.
And then your center needs to be the best stick handler on the ice.
Yeah.
And that's how I would define all those. So if somebody said, hey, I should be a center because I know how to skate all over the place, and I was like, well, here, stick handler around these cones, and they couldn't do it, I'd be like, no, you might be a winger.
Right. So and we get this a lot. Like, I want to play defense because I don't skate well. Probably not the position for you, honestly.
I think this year what we should do is anyone that says, I can play defense, we'll be like, okay, skate backwards. I don't know how.
Well, here's the thing, and I did this a couple times because I got to skate out quite a bit last year. I was actually kind of happy with it. In our beginner leagues, backward skating is kind of a rarity for a lot of our beginners. It's hard, right?
Oh, it's very hard.
Right? Especially transitioning from going forward to backwards. Most people bite it. I have on several occasions. You just have to learn that it doesn't hurt anymore. But I watched one game, and I'm just watching people mosey through into the blue line into the other zone, and they would get picked off. And I'm like, you know what? I just decided that when we started over, we get a goal. We don't do face-offs. We just kind of taking the ball out behind the half court. I'm just going to skate full tilt into the zone and see what happens. I did it 3 times in a row, and everybody who was trying to defend me just went, I don't know what to do. Why is he skating so fast?
He needs to slow down. So chance.
Well, because they don't know how to respond, because they're like, well, I got to go backwards. But I can't.
I do like when you have and I mean, this has got to be the same for any sport. Hockey's just been it's been the only one that I've tried to teach adults to play. And I do like that look of, huh?
You get that now they started to figure it out, so they give you more cushion. It gives them more time, but they still can't. So unless they actually picked it or knocked it from me, and I made it through, they're looking behind and going, uh-oh.
Well, my favorite thing to do when you know that there's somebody that knows you but isn't a strong skater, if I want to pick on them, is you act like you're about to go really, really fast, and they start preempting it,
Right.
and then you slow down, and they're way far away from
Right. And another thing we do that can get people caught is we do what's called pinching.
Yeah.
It's a bad habit that a lot of defensemen have. They're like, well, I'm going to play up. No, as a defense, you want to keep yourself some cushion because that forward, I guarantee you could probably skate faster than you can because he's going forward and you're going backward.
Well, it's that.
Pinching is where you get right up on them and then they deke you and you're like, oh, my poor goalie.
It's that. I got to figure out a way that I can convince people that scoring a goal doesn't matter as much as they think it does. And I know people,
especially at our level.
Well,
there's no score in our scoreboard.
Even at any level, like a goal is going to happen because you made a play, you worked something out, and then something came from it.
Mm-hmm.
But most people think of a goal more along the lines of, I have to get it to win the game. No, just let it come. It'll naturally come. And once you get that, like for me, I don't know how many times I shot, like when we were in Great Falls, like that shot I took from the point, I didn't think it was going to go in until I shot it and I went.
We watched a goal go from behind the net and in because it would have hit Josh in the chest if he hadn't stuck his stick out.
But so that all that kind of stuff happened naturally depending on
the only thing he was attempting to do was not take a puck to the chest because that would hurt.
Oh, I thought he was doing a bench press.
Right?
With his stick.
He just lifted his stick up, turned his head, and he's like, "Did that go in the net?" you and I were on the bench, oddly enough, at the same time. We weren't defense partners. We shouldn't have been. Some reason we ended up on the bench. And you look at me, did that go in? I'm like, I don't know how. He was behind the net line when he shot.
I don't know. I just know from and I can only speak for myself because I know how I think when I'm playing.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime you see me shoot from the point, I'm not thinking I'm going to score a goal. I'm thinking I'm getting a rebound or I'm going to create an opportunity.
And this is just because I'm relatively new to the game. I had this discussion with you in the car the other day. I don't go out there to win. I go out there to test myself. I go out as a goaltender. I'm like, I want to work on this skill set. So what I want to work on is my edge work tonight. I want to see how well I get up and move from my post to post or post to point. Where just that. I want to work on that. I want to work on staying on my feet, because you're faster on your feet than you are on your legs, right? On your knee, you can't move on your. You know what I mean? You're like you can't move if you're on the ground.
Some goalies are pretty good on their knees.
I'm not. But you're faster on your feet, so you should almost always be on your feet. There are, of course, always scenarios where you don't, but you should almost always be on your feet because you can move faster.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's me. I'm like, I want to work on this. So even if I skate out, I'm like, I want to try. I want to play defense tonight. I want to try working on my transitions more. I want to be able to go from, oh man, I got to go full tilt forward, but I want to face them. I want to look them in the eye.
Stare them down.
Well, you do that a lot, right?
Yeah, of course I do.
Because it just messes them up.
Well, it's not even that. So, like you as a goalie, if
I could have sent you so many more Instagram videos of dudes who picked it up and juggled it on their stick and fluttered. You think you flutter? This is just embarrassing what these guys are doing to some guys.
I just know for me, so I can stick handle half decent without looking at the puck.
Right.
And especially if I'm not thinking about it. But if I come down the ice and I look at you and you're a goalie and you're looking at me.
No, that's bad.
I've already
lost. The goal is already in the net.
So I like doing that. So I'll skate down the ice and I'll stare at a goalie right in his eye because I know as soon as he looks at me, I should shoot.
Your goalie's head should never be up, which is like crazy. Like, we do this a lot where you try and put screens in on your goalie. His eyes should always be on the ice somewhere. They shouldn't ever be on a body at all. Unless if it is, they've lost it. Like we don't know where it's at. Like that happens to me a lot when the puck goes behind the net. I start doing this. I'm like, I don't know where, and it's over here because it squirted out. So, yeah. Oh, we're in trouble. We are.
Yeah, we had the teaser for it at the start.
We had the teaser.
It's not.
We're not even an hour in.
It's not 4 yet, so we can't talk about the Bermuda Triangle just yet.
Oh, but I do have. There's new footage, ladies and gentlemen, of Bigfoot.
What?
Yep. I've got the video right here, and you can watch it.
So
This is taken in Idaho. And experts have looked at this video and they are stunned. Like,
I'm watching it and I was like, dude, this looks really high. It's an ad.
hit block, will you? I don't want messages from them forever.
Okay.
That's because you turned the phone, but this is hard to refute. Like, it's not a very long video. It looks like somebody's edited it because it's only a few frames. But tell me that's a dude in the suit. Like, you 100% dude in the suit. You can't, because you can see muscle movement. Like, it's crazy.
I've watched a lot of movies that have pretty good.
Right, I'm saying that. But this is taken with a weird phone, and this is it. Why is it always the fuzziest phone ever? But that's not that fuzzy of footage, honestly.
It's not that fuzzy of footage. Why is it only like 3 frames?
That's what I don't know. And so, but I'm looking at this, and most videos of Bigfoot sightings, you go, I'm fairly certain that's either a bear, which gets confused a lot because bears, people don't know.
They walk around.
They walk around on their upright on their feet a lot, and people don't realize that they do this, but they just do. They do it to look around. And what's really creepy about bears is they look like people when people hunt them. They hang them and skin them. Their feet and their hand and they look like hands because they have a similar structure to human hands. They're just not. They can't grab things, but they
don't have this.
That poor opposable thumb, but they do have that claw there. So, but when you get them also, and you see the bones, you're like, so people a lot of times see these weird big bones. They look like people. They're like, well, it's got to be Sasquatch, right? But it's not. They're just bears. But that footage there, just kind of weird.
For me, it's the. So I can record anything for any length of time as long as my phone will allow it.
Right.
So when I see something that clearly there was a lot more distance that thing could have traveled.
Right.
Why was it only a couple seconds?
Mm-hmm.
I know it is. It's like, what was it? About 5 or 6 frames?
Yeah. And I don't know why it's so short. And it even goes through in that story that you read there. Like, they can't figure out why it's 5 or 6 frames. But when you look at those 5 or 6 frames, and they've had experts look at them, primatologists and scientists and stuff, they're like, I don't know. Like, I can't legit say that's a guy in
I
a
almost
suit.
feel like whoever filmed it made it that short because they knew that they were trying to make it fake.
Well, and you can see in the footage there's a lot more open area. Like, why didn't you keep going?
Yeah, because I know if I saw Bigfoot and I was a good distance away, I would film for 3 seconds and then be like, let's get out of here. You and I would have been like, hey,
Right?
come over here.
You got any jerky, man?
I'm not gonna lie. If I was a football field away and we weren't just walking through the woods and I saw what I thought was Bigfoot, I would film it and in the footage be like, hey, just to see
what would happen,
yeah.
Right? But so and like, I'm not saying that's Bigfoot, but like, that's a really good costume if it's a dude in a suit.
It did look up.
Because, I mean, he's got the bulge in the back in like the hips and the legs where you think something that has to walk a lot up and down.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be thick and heavy in mass, right? And the longer arms. I'm not saying Bigfoot's impossible. I'm saying Bigfoot's improbable.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me with that kind of stuff is so when it comes to us exploring land, we've explored like everything.
There's most of it, except for Antarctica, is pretty rough.
Yeah, but we have sent stuff to go look.
Well, you can look over the down because you got the drones and stuff you can see over it. The issue where we run into are like rainforests and stuff because we can't get through the damn foliage, right?
But I mean, so like when I was taking my history class, they had that one where there was that piece of land that they hadn't explored yet. And they went and started exploring it, and they actually found a tribe of people that had never seen a white person.
Right. That actually happens quite a bit in the areas like in the rainforest.
Yeah. Because
they're so inaccessible. So even if you do make it on foot, you're gonna die of the diseases that are found there, right? And that's the Spanish figured that out the hard way.
But if we look at, like, say, North America.
Oh yeah,
we've been explored like 100% all the way through. And when you go back, and I've looked, like, because I've been forced to take history classes again. There should be more sightings of Bigfoot throughout those explorations than there ever was. And there's never really, if you look back, like, when do they start? They start as soon as fuzzy cell phones or something start popping.
Well, I watched a documentary the other night. This takes place in Washington, on the opposite side of Mount St. Helens. I can't remember what the name of the valley is, but it's like Primate Valley or something like that, where over 100 years ago, before the Bigfoot thing started going crazy, there's a newspaper article of 5 miners who came into contact with a large, furry, upright creature. They actually shot one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it fell, but there was more than one, so they didn't stick around. So they ran back to their mining cabin. And later that night, and we watched that. We didn't finish it because that was going. That show to me, the one we were watching before, was looking for pity for people who get in trouble for smoking marijuana illegally, which I don't have pity on people who do things illegally. But that's neither here nor there. But these guys say that there were rocks being thrown at their cat. They were attacked.
So like the Ewoks.
Kind of, right? Only like 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
But they came down from the mountain. And why would they make this up? Like, over 100 years ago, we got attacked by. What do you have to gain?
The only thing that like just baffles me is that,
like, modern times, yes, you have everything to gain. Why? You get your 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
100 years ago, you get the newspaper article that they supposedly shot this one. And apparently the family retaliated. I mean, it defended itself. Like, so anything now, any type of monster hunter, you say you've seen it, you get more skepticism because, well, everybody's seen it, and it's those people looking for their 5 minutes of fame. But who has actually seen it, not looking for 5 minutes of fame, and they're afraid to say anything because they're like, well, you're just going to be that.
I don't know. I just feel like we would have found one.
You would have thought, right? Especially that took place in Idaho. Here in Montana, we just shoot stuff.
Well, that, and I mean, if it was really around and something like that was really so, like
8 Canyon is the name of that.
Like for that
place.
One, if something like that happened, you'd think, why wouldn't that whole town get together and then go hunt the things?
And part of that is that place is pretty inaccessible. It's really hard to. I mean, it's a hike. They literally had to blast out an area on the side of the mountain to build their cabin, to blast it flat. Yeah. So, I mean, that was that. But that still doesn't take away from the point. Like, your point is like, yeah, why didn't they go look? But the other point is like, why would anybody make it up?
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I don't know. It's so just one of those weird things where I just, maybe they've just adapted, and that's why we have the WWE now.
Right.
They just shave the hair off, and there they are.
The Lucha Libres, they just wear the masks.
Yeah.
They hide their apes. Yeah.
But you've been listening to Average Rants here at KNMC
90.1
FM. And we're nearing the top of the hour, so that means we have to do everyone's favorite time.
Community calendar.
Yes. Community calendar.
And then we'll talk about Bermuda a little bit. By a little bit, probably like an hour.
We probably wouldn't be able to. So Tuesday, September 7th, we've got the Burger Feed fundraiser. That's at the Eagles Club from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Books and Babies at the Haverhill County Library. That'll be Wednesday, September 8th. Oh, what's this? Airfare? You ever heard of that?
Nope.
Saturday, September 11th, there'll be an Airfare 2021 from 7 a.m. till noon at the Havre City Council Airport. Free admission to come see the airplanes and watch the Air Games. Free airplane rides for kids who meet the height requirement. Oh yeah, I remember that. We took Persephone to that one year, but she was too small to go on the plane. Maybe we could take our kids. I bet you she'd go up on the plane with Aurora.
You mean an airplane?
Yeah.
No.
No?
I'm not sending my kid up in an airplane.
Why?
Well, Amanda might do it. You get to talk to her. I hate flying.
Oh, I hate flying, but I flew one of those little planes before.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do it.
Well, you don't have to. You send your kid up in it.
Why would I send my kid up in something that I won't do?
Because that's what kids are for.
She didn't make it. Glad I didn't go.
Always make another.
No, I can't. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's your problem.
Well, all I've got left over is Kingston. Awesome.
Yeah, you might not want to sit there. Mamma Mia will be happening starting September 10th, running through for probably 3 weeks. This calendar doesn't go that long,
No.
but it's at least for 2 weeks. And they've got a pretty good thing, too, that if you end up getting COVID or getting ill, you can just trade your ticket back in for a refund. So that's good. But
They're not non-refundable tickets.
Yeah, that's always good.
Right.
I hate it when you buy something and then you can't go and then you have to like scalp them, you know?
For half the price you paid them.
No, for double because they're out of stock now.
Yeah, right.
Oh, maybe we should buy all the Matt Theater tickets and then people have to come to you or I to get seats. We could hold the monopoly.
Something tells me that's not exactly legal.
Why can't you do that?
Because I'm pretty sure all the scalping tickets is illegal.
Well, we're not scalping them. We're buying them and then we just don't want them anymore.
Make a donation, you get a ticket. What's the donation? $45 a ticket.
Stand out in front of the theater, nobody's there because they couldn't get a ticket for that night. We're just like, damn it.
We didn't think this through, did we? Should at least half the tickets.
And then that theater would just be all happy because they
sold out and we only have 2 guys watching.
You and I just watch and be like, yes, do play for us. Dance monkey.
You missed the line. I wasn't right. Do it again.
We probably could be like, hey, I missed that. Can you guys do that line again?
Pause. I got to pee. All right. So that's one of the long list of horrible ideas we've had.
I thought that was a great idea.
I don't know.
There are people listening right now being like, I'm doing it before they do it.
Yeah, but now they learn don't buy all the tickets.
Well, yeah, because then
No one will show up.
buy all but 2.
Then when that 2 show up, be like, hey, you guys know somebody who couldn't get tickets?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, buy 1. And then when they come, because they'll be like, I'm just going to bring my wife just in case they have some tickets you can buy. They would be like, hey, $3,000 for this ticket because we got to make up for a lot that we bought.
Yeah. Wow, we're random stuff. That's stupid.
What?
Anyway. Whoa.
Whoa!
Where did I go there?
You jumped to like the big point.
Right?
The Bermuda
Triangle. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to get a full-on, hardcore, full education on the Bermuda Triangle.
Hold on to your lug nuts. It's time for an overhaul.
You could get lost. Oh, yeah. So, everybody knows about the Bermuda Triangle. This is the best part about this rant. Like, you can't go anywhere. People get lost. For centuries now, people have been getting lost in the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I got it right. So the Bermuda Triangle falls in between.
It goes from Miami to...
You're going to tell me the exact names.
Yeah, it does. It goes from Miami.
Bermuda, Puerto Rico, and Miami.
Right?
And it's straight lines making a triangle.
Now, here's the crazy thing. You know, you put any 3 points anywhere on a flat surface or, on a map, and it's going to make some sort of triangle, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The weird thing about the Bermuda Triangle, and this is just an observation for me, is it's almost perfect.
Yeah, it's
right?
almost like a perfect triangle. So, like, you mean like each side is the same length?
Yeah, an equilateral triangle, correct?
Yeah.
I'm sure your wife is going to correct me on that.
Probably.
But within this triangle, since people have been writing things down and coming here, there have been weird disappearances in the triangle. And we're like, why? Like, crazy why. Christopher Columbus came over, he didn't discover North America, people. He ran into an island. He was looking for China. That guy was lost. So lost.
Yeah.
He was on the wrong side of the planet. Granted, he was looking for a shorter route to China. But he reported seeing strange lights in the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes.
Crazy. Right? And then, so World War II, right?
Mm-hmm.
That lost squadron. There was 14, and this is a crazy story. So you and I watched this. A squadron of airplanes called Avengers. What were there, 14 guys total? 14 airmen went missing?
Yes.
In the whole squad?
That was Flight 19.
Yeah. Each plane has 2 compasses on it. Now we're talking 1944. These planes don't have digital compasses. They have the
spinny ones.
The only way that these things fail is if you break them. Like, literally break them. All the compasses in these planes stopped working for some amount of time, which caused the planes to overshoot their point of destiny because they were going to fly in a triangle, I think is what it was. Well, oddly enough. And they overshot. Well, when their compasses started working again, they didn't know how far they'd overshot. Right? But they knew if they flew due west, they would run into land at some point.
Well, that's common.
Because you go west, you're gonna hit Florida.
Yeah, because it sounded like their compasses started working at a certain.
They started working again, right? They just quit, and then they started working again. Weird thing. How did 14 compasses stop working? All 14 failed. That's the worst luck ever. But the worst part, well, that's pretty bad. The second worst part is they sent a search plane. It got lost too.
Yeah. Well, the bonus was though with that one there was a boat nearby that saw an explosion.
Right.
But it wasn't like in the air. It was an explosion in the water.
So it gave them a general area of where to find this. And they recently...
Well, we don't know for sure.
They don't know for sure, but they found a plane matching its description and its parts that it very well could be the search plane.
Yeah, but it costs a lot to...
bring one of them up.
Yeah.
But on top of that, Amanda sent us that story. That's about the Flight 19, that story. It was just recently announced that they may have found the lost squadron.
Pretty cool.
Right?
Well, because what was the theories that they were talking about there? That, it was the Bermuda Triangle, and yes, the compass is screwed up.
Right.
Because that was in the report for the radio. But then also that the leader got confused, got lost, and instead of trying to fix his mistake with help, he tried to do it all on his own.
Right.
And ended up getting them so far off course that they ran out of gas because there was reports of him being over land, and he could have just
landed.
Yeah, went down and landed.
Granted, you're not going to keep your plane, but you're going to land and you're going to live.
Yeah, but he didn't want to fail, so he kept them going over open water.
Right. I can't stress this enough, people. If you're going to learn to fly, keep your butt over land. Because at some point, no matter how far you fly, at some point you're going to find at least someplace that's flat enough for you to land. Yes, you may destroy your aircraft, but at least you live and you land. Water landings are a little bit more tricky in a plane that's not designed for it.
Yeah. I think people are so afraid of failure. And I got when they were talking about that in the show that we were watching. I get it. But I mean, I'm at the age now where if I was flying a plane and if I was doing anything, we were hiking through the woods and we had 14 people, and then you and I got to a point and I was in my mind, I'm I have no idea where we are. I would literally turn and be we're lost.
Right.
Anybody got any ideas?
Well, they had radio communication, right?
Yeah.
They had enough.
Well, because they had enough because somebody wrote it down.
But like I said, this predate in this 1944. Radar is in its infancy. Like they didn't have. So
because they lost them on whatever they had. They said that they just disappeared.
They got out because radar back then only had about 110 mile range. So you're pretty limited in your range with radar, so they get lost. So what we're getting, the main thing, there's main theories about the Bermuda Triangle of why things keep getting lost. The waters are just treacherous, bad weather, just comes out of nowhere, goes from 0 to crazy in no time flat in that part of the Atlantic. The other theories are natural reefs and terrible natural reefs around the islands are just bad. We watch that show and they're weaving in and out. Like a boat ride that probably takes 5 minutes takes them an hour because you got to weave around the reefs, otherwise they get hung up on reefs.
Yeah.
And then there's my favorite theory.
Here we go.
Aliens.
Yep.
Right. Which brings us to our next story. And this is the one I pointed to you. That I'm like, the story's great. It's the data the guy has with it that really gets you going. Like, what? That's crazy. So this dude has he flies from some little island in Bermuda or around in the Triangle to Miami, and it's an hour and 55-minute flight. They know this because he does it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, and I don't remember what year it was, but it's the same plane. And he's like, we were doing this flight, and all of a sudden some bad weather moved in. And the clouds were so thick that he couldn't go under them. He couldn't go over them because his plane was, the storm went to the ground, so he couldn't go under it. And his plane was only rated for so much altitude, so he can't go high enough, and it was just so wide. So he had no choice. He has to go through it. And he's like, and we start seeing this tunnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that part, where they show the weird, and he's like,
it was like a spiraling
corkscrew type thing, right?
Cloudy. So like if the clouds opened up like a wormhole.
Right. And he's like, we flew and we're flying for like 3 minutes. And they come out the other end of the storm, and he lost radio contact, right? And he gets radio contact back after he gets out of the storm, and he's Miami Tower, how far out are we? Because he didn't know because he lost. And they're like, he should be 90 miles out.
Yeah, he was he was above.
He was above. He's like, you're right above Miami. We flew 90 miles in 3 minutes. Okay, that's his story.
Mm-hmm.
But then he goes one step further. He's like, he pulls out his logs. The flight should take 40. They fuel up before they take every flight. It should take 45 gallons of fuel to make it. When he fueled up, his plane only needed 25 gallons. He used 20 gallons less fuel than he normally does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had the receipt.
He had the receipt for the flight.
And
then the flight log. His log time.
Well, and people need to understand too that like those planes don't have a lot of distance, so it's not like he went there and filled up just a little bit to get back.
No,
you fill up.
You have to, because if you get off course and you need all the fuel you have.
Yeah.
Ask Flight 19, right?
Yeah.
Poor guys. But he also has it in his log because they are very strict about this. They have to fill out their log sheet. When they take off, they write down the time. He's 60 minutes early. They somehow did an entire 2-hour trip in 49 minutes. He doesn't know. You can't explain it.
Well, what's your explanation? How do you think he jumped?
Wormhole.
You think it was a wormhole?
Like, what else? Like, how?
So, like, are you thinking like wormhole, or like some people call black holes wormholes?
Right.
Like, is a black hole going to be something that takes you somewhere far away, or is it going to be a thing that just leads to nothingness and you're done?
We don't know.
But would you think, like, is that your thought, or are they different?
So the first theory is a lot like the Lost in Space theory. You get sucked into a black hole, you get thrown into another galaxy or another dimension, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is the black hole just destroys you and leads you to nowhere, right?
Yeah.
I would think it just kind of pulls you and puts you somewhere else. Like you just kind of jump. Now, I don't know if it was an actual wormhole, but you cannot refute the data that the guy had. They're like, well, that's just weird.
It is really weird. And
like, yes, you could get a tailwind, and you could do this driving. You get a tailwind, it pushes you, you use less fuel. Not that much less fuel. And you don't get there faster. The plane can only go, the plane does 200 miles an hour. They did the math. What do you say the plane would have to be doing 2,000 miles an hour?
2,000 miles an hour to do that.
To do that in that speed?
Yeah, there's no way.
No. Like, there's no tailwind that pushes you that fast. So, what do you think?
What do I think? Or what do I hope? Okay, I'm going to go with what I think. And my brain, when I heard that story, was like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But, I mean, his data is a receipt that
you could forge a receipt.
Yeah, you could forge it. We have no idea. But the thing that I was confused about was he talked about how there was the guy in the passenger seat and then there was the businessman in the back. But why don't we know their names?
Right.
Like, why wouldn't he tell anybody about it? So there is that thing of like a hoax kind of thing in there. But what I want.
Well, but you could do the hoax, but I could break your hoax because there is the flight log, which the tower keeps track of too.
Yeah, but he didn't show us that.
No, he told his flight log, but the tower probably has the log as well because they have to clear.
But yeah, but if he would have showed us that, then that would have made it a little bit
right. But they didn't show that part. But yeah,
but, so there was that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I want all this crazy stuff to be real, but I always try to play all the cards.
I want to.
But so what I hope it was really happening was they got too close to an alien ship, and the alien ship went and shot them further away.
Or that's how the aliens get around in a hurry.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick though. Or yeah, like it was about to take off and they got caught in a little bit of the drag of it or something.
Or they went through just after something had already gone through it.
Yeah.
And the aliens moved so fast. Now, and I had mentioned before that Columbus had spotted weird lights.
Oh yeah.
And we mentioned, and they didn't mention this in the show, but just through a little bit of reading that through weird weather, one of the rarest things you could have in weather is called ball lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Like like balls of plasma are something you think about in video games and movies, right?
But plasma gun from Doom,
right? There are actually videos. You can check these out on YouTube, man. There are videos and there's all kinds of data on. They've actually filmed ball lightning, and what's the craziest part is it can come in your house.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Until
the videos we looked at.
Yeah, until it gets near you, then it's not so cool. Like, I mean, you're talking about a ball of plasma that's as hot as the sun, right next to you. So, and according to them, the weather there is prime for a ball lightning. Like there's a lot of lightning there, so ball lightning could be a very real thing.
Because there was the other thing that happened in that where it was those guys did the research stuff, and the cool thing that I liked about this one that we watched.
Oh, they sent the balloon up 20 miles.
No, it was more than that because it was out of the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah, 20 miles. They did it in feet, which is why you don't understand why it was in miles. It was 200,000 feet, which is roughly 20 miles.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay.
200,000 square feet. Or 100,000. It's 20 miles, whatever. It's 100,000 feet. 100,000. They made it like 100,090 feet because they were like freaking out that they made it 100,000 feet.
Yeah. Well, I just like that it was, they had done this before. So they had all the stuff. They had the okay to do it and the travel because they had to end up going over the Gulf. Right?
Yeah. They went from the Atlantic to the Gulf because they had to chase the balloon.
But they got all the rights to do it. And they'd never done it. So all that data was new to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it came back with them being like, scientifically, this doesn't make any sense.
It's weird. Like, the spikes in radiation they were getting was weird. And the magnetic, and this is another theory they have there, is that the Earth is protected by a magnetic field. Most people only think of the magnetic field as having a north and south pole. It's not necessarily that way all the time. It shifts from time to time, right? So you can get weird spikes in different places, which can mess with a compass. And in one of these places, it does have a tendency to do this, where the magnetic field is stronger there than it should be, is it oddly enough in the Bermuda Triangle. We don't know why. Mm-hmm. Which can cause your compasses to go and just start going like I say, So there's that. But the radiation levels they were getting there were just off the charts.
Yeah, it was random spikes. So it would be It would be like a spike out of nowhere, and then it would slowly go and then just disappear.
Right.
And then random spike. And that's what I kind of like. I like seeing that because it was true data.
Well, when you get a couple of scientists going, scientifically speaking, and they use scientific terms. This is weird.
Yeah.
It
doesn't make any sense.
No, because in the atmosphere it should be fairly. You can have slight irregularities.
Yeah, you can have a spike of radiation in a storm, or when a storm's about to happen up in the atmosphere, but it's usually a gradual, right? It's not like a boom. But that's why the Bermuda Triangle is one of the hot spots for random storms.
Yeah, and weird.
And that's why, because they were talking about like the boats and stuff, why it's a graveyard and all that, and you were talking about the reef. But it's also because a storm it could be a bright sunny day, and then a storm happens in an instant.
Yeah, at the very beginning of that show we watched, it's bright and sunny, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go check out the Bermuda Triangle. And like 10 minets later,
oh yeah,
they're in the middle of a storm.
You could see it. You could see him talking. It was all nice. He was like, huh. Look at that.
Well, yeah, like the weather just goes from 0 to, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah. So, I could see back before people had technology,
right?
Because it's not happening quite as much, but it's still happening,
right?
These days, like people actually. I remember when I was a kid,
like that pilot, you get the weird, like jumped in a weird wormhole type story, sinkings and stuff. I would think that the lost ships, boats, and planes, 90% of that, I think, have to do with human error.
Yeah, and weather, like the reefs, because they didn't have the technology to know.
And they're either environmental, weather, or human error, or a combination of the three.
Because if anybody is listening that's kind of wants some type of info about this, actually look at Bermuda, not just the triangle, but Bermuda, and look how far the reefs go away from what you can see.
Yeah.
And you think about a boat that is like, what, 50, 100 feet under the water?
Yeah.
Because it's so heavy, and you can't tell that you're about to hit bottom.
Mm-hmm. But we did leave the best for last with the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, you almost.
I almost spilled the beans, man.
Aquaman would have came up and beat.
Oh, Atlantis. And the only evidence for this theory, and I don't put any weight into this theory because there's nothing to it. In my opinion, there's nothing to it. There's a small island in the Bermuda Triangle called Bimini. And in the 1970s, some divers found what they think is a road buried 40 feet under the ocean. Mm-hmm. Not uncommon to find civilizations now buried underwater. The issue with this is, in order for Bimini's area to have been above water, would have been over 100,000 years ago. Would have been the only time that place was above water in order for somebody to put stones there to make a road.
Yeah.
Sea levels were different then.
They did show us the road, and it did look like nice cut rocks.
Yes. Now, people are convinced that nature doesn't work in straight lines and circles and perfect stuff. That's not 100% accurate. It is uncommon and, in fact, very rare, but it can happen.
Mm-hmm. Which they kind of proved in the show.
Right.
Because they did that sonar to see how deep the rock formations went.
Right.
And some of them went pretty deep.
Yeah. Well, and then they have this, and this is more of a nature thing. They've seen these weird volcanic where they make octagon pillars because they push magma up and it makes octagons, almost perfect octagons. It's crazy looking. They have walls of it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the places where nature can work in straight lines and shapes, where it's not completely irregular. Now, I'm not saying that it's a road and it can't be a road. I don't think so.
Well, the other thing too is I talked to you about it when we were watching it was There's nothing else.
Yeah.
It's just roads.
So,
There's no like pillars.
well, and the thing is,
it
they're
doesn't
like-
lead anywhere.
And they're like, we're going off Plato's description of Atlantis. Atlantis had advanced technology. Well, you can't see that. That's gone.
Well, and,
But as far as
how advanced?
well, advanced technology 2,000 years ago. Let's look at it this way.
Well, lighter.
Well, the Romans were by far more advanced because they had sewers, right?
Yeah.
Running water. They had
Indoor plumbing would have sent them through the roof.
Oh man, kerflush, right? Throwing that stuff out the window apparently was a terrible idea. They didn't figure that out in England until the 1500s when they gave everybody the plague.
Yep.
Everyone else like, why would you throw it out the window? It's gross.
Well, it's the back alley, dude.
Right?
It rains a lot.
Well, and that's where that, yeah. So, but and according to Plato, Atlantis is a port. Okay, they're in the ocean. Very well could have been a port. The problem with that is it's concentric circles. The port was literally land with a little bit of water. It looked like a bullseye, essentially, like a dartboard with different sections. So it was land, water, land, water, land. There is a place that fits this description in the Mediterranean. It's Santorini. It was a volcano and it exploded, and Santorini went goodbye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not there. There's no point of that there. And Plato describes there being elephants. The issue with Plato's account of Atlantis is Plato wrote this hundreds of years after the fact. So he's talking about things that someone's uncle told them that their best friend told them from their uncle's grandfather.
Well, and even if you think about it that far back, how would they have gotten to that location?
So this is one thing that I do believe, and I don't think many people believe it because, well, we just can't wrap our head around it. The ancients didn't come this way. That's not necessary. I don't believe that. I think that the ancient mariners could get to North America and did, but it was so far, right? And like you said, they don't have a lot of technology.
Well, yeah, that was the biggest problem. So, like the big thing with, we'll just use Columbus as an example. He was a horrible
Everything. He's a terrible
governor.
everything.
The only thing that he was extremely good at was he was the first person to navigate there and back multiple times.
Yeah.
So some people had navigated over, but
Recorded there and back. The Vikings technically, and we know this now, had done it multiple times. Just they didn't need to write it down.
But that was just it. So if we look back and we look at it, like Plato was around Greek, like in Roman times, were their boats structurally strong enough? We know what Bermuda Triangle weather's like.
Right.
To be able to handle those roadways.
You wouldn't actually have to go through the Bermuda Triangle. And in fact, the best way to do it is the way the Vikings do it. You don't go straight across.
Well, but I'm saying if they went to Atlantis, if it was there.
Right. What you would do is you would do what the Vikings did. The Vikings followed the ice flows. And they island hopped. So you go up. You go up to Scotland. You go over to Ireland. You jump to Greenland. Once you hit Greenland, you got nothing but North Pole, which is a lot of ice. So you can skirt the ice flows. So if you get hungry, you need to eat, you can get on the ice flows. You can hunt seal and whale and all that. You can eat and fish all the way down till you hit Canada. And this is where in Newfoundland, you should be fairly familiar with Newfoundland, right? That's where they found one of the first Viking settlements here.
Oh, Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. Sorry,
I was confused. I'm like, Newfoundland. Where'd you find it?
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
Which is where the money pit is, which strangely enough you don't know much about. I figured you know more about the money pit than I do, being Canadian and all, because it's actually in Canada, Oak Island.
You're talking greed when you say money. We don't care about that.
No, but it's one of the places they say that the Templar treasure is buried. Because it's the only place where English oaks are growing on this one island in the North America. Why? Who planted English oaks on an island? In the middle of Canada.
Some dude.
Right? Why would you do that? Anyway,
Why not?
so you just follow that down, right?
Yeah.
That would be the easiest way to do it.
Oh, no, I think people came over before Columbus and stuff. I just look at it as you have to think about the technology at the time, and you'd have to get extreme. Like, so I'm thinking like what a good Roman ship looked like back then.
Oh, they could have made it.
But they'd have to get lucky. at the same time, because they were not built to deal with, like in that show we watched, those rogue waves. And a rogue wave doesn't just happen in Bermuda; it can happen
anywhere. Right.
So you got to think that a rogue wave is going to happen to a boat probably at least once every trip there and back.
Yeah, but
you could get lucky and it'd be calm sailing. But the other thing too is,
well, you even said in a story that you did a couple weeks ago, because I was late, those Roman jars in Brazil. Why are they in Brazil?
Yeah, and nobody's allowed to go there anymore to find out why.
And this is because and we're getting better. Up until like the early 1900s, and maybe even the mid 1900s, scientists did not like to be wrong. When they said something, they were right, and it can't be wrong. Well, that's stupid, right?
Yeah. Well,
they didn't like to be proven wrong.
There's other things with it too, because you got to remember that you can be a scientist, and I'm not trying to dog religion.
Oh yeah, it's a big.
But if let's just random instead of focusing on that, if somebody was to find the ark, maybe then actually find. I know there's stories of, but let's say that
that's actually theory.
Yeah,
it's in the money pit.
Let's say we found it. We found the ark. Every scientist would go, we can't show you that. Because then
we've all seen Indiana Jones. We know what happens if you look at it.
Right. But so like we can't show you that because then it proves that we've been wrong about the Bible. Right? Like
but I don't
but
science I think science now would be like, yeah, that's great. Like they would love to prove that it's real, right?
Right, but it works both ways. So the Bible does the same thing, where they don't want science to be proven because it proves.
Here's a perfect example of religion not wanting to be proven wrong. The Rosetta Stone. It's the ancient stone that taught people how to read ancient Egyptian. When we first seen ancient Egyptian scripture, we're like, how do you read cartoon pictures?
Clearly, it's Birdman.
Right? The Rosetta Stone, when they discovered it, it was translated from Egyptian to Greek and Latin. Somebody had figured out how to translate, someone in ancient Greece, because we know that the Greeks did trade and stuff with the Egyptians. They learned the language, so they figured out how to translate it. The problem with the Rosetta Stone is, and the church didn't like it, is because it proved that man was older than 2,000 years. Because according to the Rosetta Stone, they were writing down dates, and it predated Christ. So at one point, the church did not want it to get out that the Rosetta Stone was actually older than what the Bible tells us the earth is. Yeah. Because it would prove everybody wrong. But now everyone's like, whatever.
Well, it's just, that's the kind of stuff that I don't like is, there are things that I am set in my ways, and it takes.
Toronto's the greatest hockey team ever.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get into some stuff, but with some stuff that happened recently with my wife,
right.
And like I'm very set on my opinion of certain things, and
he's over it.
It's hard for people to change my mind,
right?
So, but I love learning about the earth, the universe, whatever. And, you and I are talking about this stuff right now. And I just love having that mindset of just throw more knowledge at us. Just give us it all.
Not even, it doesn't have to be knowledge. Like, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, the ancient Greeks circumnavigated the earth 15 times. And no, that's not true. I mean, anybody could do that. What we're saying is that there's evidence that they did come here.
Yeah.
But it was too far. And you knew this fact as well as I did. There are tribes along the East Coast, all the way up through Canada, that are weirdly colored natives. They're awfully pale. And they can grow a lot of facial hair, which is not something most natives can do. Mm-hmm. They have blue hair,
yeah,
blue eyes.
They're Smurfs.
They have blue eyes, and some of them have blonde hair, which is more of a Scandinavian feature. And this is reported not now. This is reported years and years ago when we started exploring our countries for the first time. When we first started moving in, they're like, there's these weird tribes that have these weird colorations. And there's also you might know this better than I do. I don't know if you do or not. There's a native tribe in Newfoundland. Newfoundland? How do you say it?
Newfoundland is wrong. It's Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. Which is actually a Norse term, isn't it? Is it Viking?
Yeah, something like that.
It's Vinland was what they.
So if you guys ever want to go to a place that I don't understand the Canadian accent,
Isn't
you
that?
go to Newfoundland.
I was gonna say, isn't that Quebec?
No, you go to Quebec is French. You go to Newfoundland, and it is literally like the I gotta go down there, shoot the buckets of the biscuits, eh?
Right.
Like it is crazy there.
But there's a tribe of natives there, but you look at their flag, it's the exact same flag as the Vikings flew, only it's mirrored. So if you take them apart, they're exactly opposite. But if you put them face to face, they mirror each other. And there are old stories of a weird group of men who showed up on the back of a whale. This is described from the native peoples.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story. They showed up on the back of a mighty whale from a strange land. Like, native people didn't make things up. Now, they didn't know how to describe a boat because it didn't occur to them to make a boat that big. Why would I? I don't need one that big. I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I make a boat big enough for what I need to do.
Yeah, it is really cool when you look at like stories from.
Well, think about the Viking longships. They sat very low in the water because they could, and that's another reason why I do believe that Greek boats could make it here because they were almost a similar design as the longboats. They sat very low in the water, so they didn't run the bottom, so they could run rivers, but they could also navigate the ocean.
No, I just feel like it would be tough to get fully.
Don't get me wrong, but like I said, and they've proven that's how the Vikings did it. They island hop up top.
Yeah, they did it through up top. I believe that would happen, but to go straight
I don't think anyone did except Columbus. And how many sailors died doing that because it's the wrong way to do
But
it?
you look at the boats that Columbus had at that point, and that's when they actually started doing, because they hadn't jumped across, they were doing the trips around the bottom. So they started getting better at knowing the weather and the type of boat you need to get through the rougher seas.
And keep going south from there, it just gets worse.
Yeah. Because he only found, North America in the end there, because he was trying to get a straight shot to India instead of the long boat one.
I don't know. She sent me, but I can't open it, so.
Oh, Amanda sent something?
Yeah. It won't let me open it. So.
Yeah, I can't open it either.
Yeah, I can't open it, so it won't let me read it.
It made you love it?
It made me love it, but I can't open it.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
But so the Atlantean theory to me is kerplunk.
Yeah, I don't think it could be there. I always thought if Atlantis existed, if it was a place, I can see it happening because I always thought, like, people think of Atlantis like in the movies where it's like this, flying cars and stuff. I just imagined it kind of like what the Aztecs would have been like, where you went there and people were like, "Oh, you know so much things."
Well, and I think here's the misconception of why we get confused and why we think Atlantis is more than it is. They said it was an advanced civilization. Well, when I say that now, what do you think of an advanced civilization right now? Well, like, we got cell phones and digital. What's more advanced than us? No. Turn back the clock 2,000 years. What was advanced 2,000 years ago? A toilet in your house.
Even like a lighter, like a thing to create flame in your hand, rather than slamming two flint and steel together.
But we do forget how, and there's a reason and we lost a lot of technology. Think about, so in the late 1,000 years AD, we went into something called the Dark Ages because the Catholic Church crushed everything, and we lost a lot of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So we went into the Dark Ages. All the technologies that the Romans and the Greeks and everybody that they had found, got lost. because of warring, and so we lost a lot of technology. And there are still things that they did back then that we can't figure out how they did. I mean, think about it. I mean, how do you build pyramids with blocks that weigh more than our house?
Yeah. Well, and what was it? The biggest theory was that they used slaves, and they had like hundreds of them pushing it.
And slave is not the right term there, because they now they read more. They weren't slaves. They were paid workers.
And they did it because they wanted to appease the
gods.
They thought was the gods.
Right. Well, you're living God. You're
the speaker to the gods.
Well, the pharaoh was a god, sort of.
He communicated.
Right. So, you speak to pharaoh.
Oh, and let's remind everybody, if we're getting terms wrong, it's because we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. What do we?
But I mean, you get pyramids. That's. Right, but how do you get the blocks? Yeah, the bottom ones are easy enough. How do you get the ones on the top? Like, that's insane.
Well, it's pretty easy. You get the alien ship to put it on.
Man, I watch Ancient Aliens, and they wrote me in for the first 5 minutes, and then the dude with his crazy hair loses me.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm gonna start getting the crazy hair so I can be like the aliens.
But we will do an Atlantis rant. I like it. I've watched a lot of shit. I've watched a lot of stuff and read a lot of stuff on Atlantis. Atlantis is neat. I do think Atlantis existed. I just don't think it was called Atlantis. I think Plato's like, we need to call it something better. Like, it just doesn't.
It was called like Foot Snarf.
Yeah. Fugle Snuff.
Snarfle.
Shoot. What? No, it was Atlantis. Huh.
Did you say Myantis? No, Atlantis.
Atlantis, right? So, I think we discredit ancient people. I believe that they were far better technology-wise than we could ever believe.
Well, I think the hard thing that people don't realize, and I mean, I'm not saying that people they're not realizing it. It's just like you said. A boat shows up. You don't know what a boat is. You call it a whale because you know what a whale is.
You've seen a whale.
So you think about it, and we sit there and we look at some of these ancient texts or pictures, and we're like, oh, well, that's a giant bird. But I'm just going to go crazy. But that could have been a UFO, right? But that's all they knew how to describe it as, was a giant bird.
Well, speaking from the Ancient Aliens thing, and if you watch the first season of that show, it's not so bad. I don't know how it made it so many seasons.
It's almost like that Bigfoot one. The first episode wasn't too bad.
Right? You get you in, and then you're like, oh, it's bad.
You're like, put all the money in the first episode. They
found in these in the Incan ruins, they found what looked like golden airplanes. Airplanes are a modern thing. They've only been around since the 1900s, right? And I think they flew the first modern airplane in 1902 or something like that. Da Vinci did have the designs for a flying machine. They're not sure if he ever built it, but they did find the designs for it, so he had that idea.
None of them worked. He had paper models.
Yeah, and none of them worked, per se. But they found these little golden airplane. They look like airplanes. Now, and people can go, well, they're birds. I could have said that too, except it has something that birds don't. That has the vertical tail fin. There is no bird with a vertical tail fin. You know, they have the black fin, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have the one that goes up and down.
Yeah.
Birds don't have that one. There might be some weird species of bird out there with it. None that I've ever seen. And it has what looks like a fuselage or a cockpit. So they made a model of this thing out of wood.
Mm-hmm.
And they put it in an Airstream thing. It would fly. Technically. If it had some type of propulsion system, it would fly.
See, I'm now starting to think.
This is where they got me, and then I watched episode 2, and then they lost me.
I just want you to consider this. See, you believe that wormhole theory, right?
I believe it's feasible.
It's feasible. So what's not to say that you couldn't get thrown backwards?
That's true.
So now, I'm going because I love Army of Darkness.
Oh, such a great movie.
Right? So imagine.
And for all you moviegoers out there and hope for a remake, don't.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
I do. I hate remakes.
Stop it. I hate remakes of bad movies because those movies I like are reasons I like.
But like, just picture this, okay? Flight 19.
Ooh.
Okay, they disappear. They get shot back, and that's one of the models.
They go over Peru.
That's one of the models. Well, because you get bit thrown anywhere,
Right.
That's one of the models that they modeled that off of.
Except they think they may have found the planes for Flight 19.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
You're right. If they hadn't found them.
I'm just trying to give you like an
Right.
example.
That'd
How
be
crazy
cool.
would that be?
Yeah, right? That'd be cool.
Like, can you imagine to be like the art? Oh my God, the art could be like the Titanic or like a big ship that disappeared.
Right.
Oh, my mind's going crazy right now with conspiracy theories.
Like weird theories, right? Yeah. And then they get me into the ancient alien things like they go and they look at these ancient buildings and they look at how crazily well built the blocks are. These guys had nothing but time. They couldn't be cut with anything but a laser. No. Any stonemason can tell you we can do this.
Yeah.
You can't fit a sheet of paper through it. Yeah, it's hard,
Like,
but you can do it.
I'm learning to do art better because I'm not very good at everything. Right. I'm just kind of okay, I would say right now. The more I practice sketching, the better I get. And I don't even spend all day. I spend maybe 10 minutes some days doing it. Can you imagine if I gave you a giant block and said, hey, in 15 years, can you make this better?
Right.
Like, you'd be like, I could make, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know how to
Well, and here's the thing. Like, the art of invention comes from problem solving, right? Like, how did the ancients build pyramids or whatever? Well, they were faced with a problem and they went, well, let's try it this way. You do this all the time. You and I did this a lot, right? We're working on my bathroom. Whenever we ran into a problem, what do you got to do? You have to think on the fly, right?
Yeah.
How many problems you doing a lot of work on your house? How many times there is a right way to do this, but you screwed it up so bad, the right way won't work anymore. So you got to figure something out.
Well, I mean, we probably have, I know we have some people that listen to this that have they're actually more professional, let's say plumbing.
Right.
How many times do you think that they go in and say, this is the right way to do it, but it's not feasible the way this is laid out. So they have to just...
The art of invention comes from problem solving. So they're like, we need to build a birthplace for Pharaoh, but unfortunately, somebody keeps robbing his tomb. So we're going to build this ridiculously big pyramid, fill it with really, really big stones and booby traps. And yet, and so here we go. We built it.
Yeah.
Now there's a problem for the grave robbers. You know what they did? They burrowed in from the bottom. They were faced with a problem. Well, what are we going to do to bypass this problem? Because we can't move the 3,000-pound block. Yeah. So what are we going to do? Well, we'll go around it. Like the dude's like, I need to move like 6 boulders, but I don't want to carry them all. Can I somehow put them in something and wheel them around? Like they noticed that round boulders when you push them off a hill rolls. So they're like, oh.
What you're saying is laziness has created so much technology.
You are damn right. Because there's that saying out there that says work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get anything done if you worked yourself to death, right?
Oh man. Well now
how much fun would it have been to put all those yards of rock in your backyard if you didn't get that sweet wagon we have?
I would have just drove your truck.
Because otherwise you have to carry it shovel load by shovel load and dump it.
Let's point out that I did do it by myself.
Your wife was injured.
Well, I don't like her doing that kind of stuff anyway.
Well, I would be more than happy to allow your wife or my wife, or anyone's for that matter, who wanted to help me haul rock. I'm like, okay, if you're willing to do it.
Well, I just feel like she does a lot of work in the house that I just don't like doing. So when it comes to
it's a trade-off?
Yeah. So
like she does the dishes, so you mow the lawn?
Yeah, so well, it's one of those things, like when she does the laundry and stuff like that, I grew up in a house where that's just kind of what happened. And so
you are so dark ages.
I know. But that was how my mom was like. That's what she liked doing. So I never thought about it. So if I go and I empty a truck of rocks, takes me a day, and I'm sweaty and dying.
You do that once.
I know, but I don't
over
expect...
the course of a year, and she does your laundry every day, and you're like, no, I'm good. I unloaded a truckload of rock.
Yeah, but
I'm good for the next year.
But I don't expect
like
a thank you or a good job, or I like it when she's like,
you should tell her thank you for folding your laundry.
I know, but that's the hard part.
I don't tell my wife thank you for folding laundry. I forget. But what I do is I try to fold the laundry. If she tells me there's a little laundry in the dryer, I usually fold it.
Sammy says, come fold your laundry, and I'm like, just a minute.
And it never gets folded.
It does. I do it, but I usually fight it. And the thing that I hate though is I hate when she gets the laundry done, and I'm like, oh man, it's almost midnight. I'm tired. And then you go to bed, and she's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's laundry on the bed. I'm like, oh man.
Now I have to fold it because I want to go to sleep. That's genius on your wife's part. You can't sleep until you fold the laundry.
I could, but I would get in a lot of trouble.
Right? So it's just easier to fold the laundry.
Yeah. No,
you know what we are 10 minutes away from?
The end of the show.
No.
Lasagna.
Oh, 45 pounds of it. I wish I
thought there was more.
Huh?
Didn't she make more, or is that all of it?
Is that all of it? That's a giant pan, dude.
Yeah, you don't know me.
I do know you. We're not even getting through a quarter of that.
No, we're not getting through a quarter of it, but I just want to make sure that there's still more.
And Oreo cheesecake.
Oh, I don't know how I'm gonna eat it. I like
just 2 forks.
Yeah, I'm gonna double fist it.
I need another mouth. Yeah.
You know, when they were talking about the Oreo cheesecake, and then Sammy was like, she's like, oh yeah, and Derek's favorite Blizzard is an Oreo 1-2.
Is that seriously? We have it's getting creepy now. We have the same allergies.
Oh yeah, these.
What is the favorite, greatest Canadian artist of all time?
Oh, that's
Bryan Adams by far. Yeah. Yeah, it's just getting creepy now.
And we scored pretty close together in golf.
Right.
So
almost the same age. Our birthdays are 10 days apart.
Yeah.
My wife, every time she figures out that there's something else that we're almost identical at, she throws something at me. Like it's Barry's fault. He was born second. I did it first.
Yeah, but then they realized they needed something better.
But I do need to show off something really cool, and I can rant about it. Why? Because people tell me that adults can't wear light-up shoes. That's garbage. Adults can wear light-up shoes. I don't know how well you can see these things, but they are.
So awesome. On our YouTube, which you could subscribe to, Average Rants on YouTube there.
Just scroll right to the end. These things are wicked.
For Derek's birthday, I bought him
light-up shoes. They are... This started, what was it, like a year ago? My daughter got light-up shoes. And
you wanted some.
I was like, why can't they make light-up shoes for adults? And they don't, right? The ones that light up when you step.
Yeah, no.
You looked, right?
I couldn't find those.
And my wife has actually looked. My wife said, no, I will never buy you light-up shoes. Ever.
Enter Barry.
Now, apparently there was a clause here that I either misread. It didn't say that I couldn't buy myself light-up shoes. That's a miss on my part. Yeah. But it worked out for you.
It did. So what I did was I put one of the shoes in a safe with a key lock, and then I taped a whole bunch of random keys.
No. He didn't tape them. He duct taped them all together.
Yes.
No, duct taped them separately and then duct taped them together.
And then he ungot them, tried them all in the locked box.
None of them would fit. I knew they wouldn't fit. I looked at them
because for some reason he thought that the keys that I showed him were the proper key. I had duct taped the actual key to the bottom of the case
with black duct tape, so it looked just like the back of the case. But in the end, I have got these sweet, now built for function, not for comfort. They're not the most comfortable shoe, but I will wear them. Yeah, I now understand why women will wear high heels and kill their feet because they look cool.
Yeah, so that's what you're at now.
I feel you. I am with you. I will torture my feet because these things look cool. Have you seen some of the high heels?
So I don't even know how to do. You can't wear them too much because, like you said, you'll blow your feet.
No, I'll blow out the sides.
But on the first night of a hockey game, for our adult league. You got to come rocking those suckers.
Just glow it.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, what the heck is on your feet? I'll be like, awesomeness. That's what's on my feet right now.
Just be like, you see how quick they're flickering? They're like, yeah, that's how quick.
And once the shoe blows out, I should find a way to disconnect these and hook these to my pads so they flash at people.
Do you know how great that would be? I'm pretty sure there's a rule in there, but
not in our adult league.
We don't have that kind of.
You know who makes the rules in the adult league? You and I.
We got it.
We got this. You think I could get attached to my skates?
Yes, that you could do.
That would be so cool. Because I have the cowlings that actually come off. We could figure it out.
Oh my goodness.
We could just cut a hole.
We could just get LED lights and stick them onto it.
Stop it. This thing's programmed and it glows and it's rechargeable.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
The other one's got to plug into a wall.
Like going down to Lewistown.
These things are stupid.
But yeah, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do Lewistown? Because like our wives are gonna want to play too, right?
Probably.
So
it's a fun-filled family affair.
Well, how long could you get your in-laws to come visit for?
You think they'd watch our kids overnight?
So, like, this is my thought. As soon as I find out the date, I'm gonna try to get my in-laws to come because they will watch her while we go to a tournament for the weekend.
The issue is getting my son potty trained.
Oh, we don't care about that. It's somebody else's problem when we're at the tournament.
Why do you not like watching Kingston by yourself? When he craps his pants.
It is bad. It is like it's like half the size of him. That's the problem. But I've only changed one, and when I did, I opened it up. I was like, how? So I've watched a person OD. Like they were ODing and they crapped their pants and they lost so much liquid that the IV drip stopped working, so they actually flatlined for a second. And when I saw that, it looked identical, and he's still running. He was still going. So
yeah, it's a feat of nature, isn't it?
But yeah, on that end,
we're ending it on that.
Yeah, we're gonna end it on the full diaper of poop.
I got a message on my phone while I was at work. Oh my god! Oh my god! That's disgusting.
I remember changing like Persephone's, and I remember the tar poops, you know, when they first are born. And I remember when she was sick. I have never seen one that full. It looked like a full-blown adult had just outdone itself.
Yep.
But you've been listening to Average Rants here at KNMC
90.1
FM. And we'll see you, or hopefully you'll be listening in next Sunday.
Next Sunday.